Hey guys, this is Dalia helping professionals with international careers, and I'm back in Barcelona after the workshop in Vienna, and I wanted to jump on and talk to you about something that is really important. It's really affecting a lot of us, and none of us even realize what a big influence it is on us, and that is our decision-making abilities and how to go with our gut. And so what I've been realizing is that when it comes to success, we all have different ideas about what makes someone successful, and generally those ideas are completely wrong. And one of the ways in which we don't realize what we should be doing is actually improving our decision-making abilities. So what I've noticed is that most people make decisions every single day, or I shouldn't say most people, I should say all people. We all have to make decisions every single day. And most of us don't even think about what is our process for making those decisions. So, how do we take those decisions? And what are the important decisions? What are the not so important decisions? Oh, hey, who's watching? Say hi, so I know you're there. And so I know you can hear me, because I know sometimes the sound doesn't work. So we're just talking about decision making and how to go with your gut feeling, and whether you even should go with your gut feeling, and what does that gut feeling mean, or what's it saying, and how can we listen to it, and should we listen to it? So that's what I want to discuss right now. So I was just saying, first of all, that when it comes to decision making, first of all, it's not something that we pay attention to enough. Think about all of the most successful people, if you know anyone. For some of us, we're the most successful people who we know, and unfortunately we don't have like a role model next to us who we can really learn from. So, we need to go out and find other people we want to learn from. But a lot of us are making all of these decisions, and we're not doing it consciously. And we think that all these decisions we make, and the way that we make them, we just make them based on our personality. So we think that the way that we make decisions is just based on the kind of personality we have, and we don't realize we can actually hone those abilities and improve them if need be. We don't have to assume that, oh, I made that decision because I'm just that kind of person, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that there are two main ways to take a decision. The first way is, like everyone says, go with your gut, or go with what's gonna make you happy, some people say, which sounds nice, but how do we do that in practice? And then the other way to make a decision is more like the pros and the cons. So these are, you make your list of what are all the advantages, what are the disadvantages, and then generally we'll just take the column with more pros rather than cons, right? And so I think most of us realize that both of these methods are flawed. So why are taking these big career and life decisions so difficult? We know we can just make a pro and cons list, or we know we can just go with our gut. Why is that so hard for us? And let me know in the comments if you've ever been faced with one of these big career or life decisions where you don't know if you should go with, if you don't know which decision you should take. What should you do? What have been your big life decisions that you had trouble making? I know for me, lately I've been faced with bigger and bigger decisions, and this comes with when you're upgrading your life. So I remember thinking, oh, it used to be so easy, right? When I was like an unemployed student, desperate for work, if I would get anything, I would grab it, because it would be like, well, I need something, and that it was so easy. Now I'm getting lots of opportunities, so I need to be more careful, because I can't do it all. I need to decide, and I need to figure out what is going to bring me really towards my goals, and that means saying no to things, which can be really, really tough when you're getting some great opportunities, right? But you need to realize when that opportunity is going to be great for someone else and not great for you right now in terms of where you are in your career. So I apologize if I'm jumping around a lot. It's one of these sort of complex topics, and I'm trying to think about how exactly to approach it, but let me know if that makes sense to you, and if it is something that you realize you are struggling with, even though a lot of us are struggling with decision making without realizing it's something we're struggling with. It's something that we do all the time, and we tend to take really for granted until we need to we come to a really, really big decision that we need to take. And then it's like, we don't know what to do. We start asking all the people around us. We start calling our parents saying, what do you think? Or our significant other, or our sister, or our brother, our best friend. We start asking everyone. Who do you ask when you need to make a really important decision? What are those people you contact? I know for me, like, I'll contact my parents sometimes. I'll contact different friends, that kind of thing. But what I've been realizing is that we need to be really careful with when we're contacting people around us about our decisions, and that often contacting other people is just a way for us to avoid making a decision that we know we need to be making on our own. So let me explain. We talked about this before in a previous video, where we all have usually about 5 people around us who are our go-to people. And they're like our advisory board, and every decision that we need to make, we sort of go to those people and we always want to know what they think, and we basically become a product of those people who are closest to us, who we communicate with the most, who we have the most contact with. And this can be a problem because most of us do not consciously choose who those 5 people are going to be. Those 5 people around us just ends up being our partners, or our husband, or our wife, or our boyfriend, or girlfriend, or it's a friend of ours, or a few friends, or our parents, our siblings. You know, our advisory board tends to be just people around us, so people who we happen to know or part of our family, and they're not necessarily the best expert to help us on a lot of those really important decisions that we're making. And I know for me, I've had to really go out there and hire a new advisory board and literally pay people to help me out with my goals, because when it comes down to it, as much as I love my parents and I love my family and I love my friends, nobody has the expertise that I need right now for where I want to go. And you know, I'm very proud of all the people in my life, but the fact is, I've surpassed most of them in terms of goals, in terms of career, in terms of, you know, making things happen. And so even though I love them, I've had to realize that if I keep asking them for their opinion, I'm going to be playing small, because the kinds of things that I'm doing are scary, and they're going to be afraid for me, and out of the goodness of their hearts, out of trying to protect me, they're going to tell me, just, you know, be careful. They're going to find lots of kind of logical reasons why I shouldn't do things, and it's going to hold me back from what I really want. And that's why what I found is that when we make a decision, it needs to come from our gut, and then we will justify it with lots of logic. So whatever decision we make, we'll just justify it with all kinds of reasons, one way or the other. So whether or not you go with your gut, whatever you decide, so maybe at first you feel like, yes, I'm going to go for this. And then someone else tells you, oh, but have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? And then they instill the fear in you, and then you'll start going, oh yeah, maybe I shouldn't do this. And then you'll start finding, and probably they'll help you to find, lots and lots of reasons why you shouldn't go through with something. So there are so many examples of this. But let's say you get a great opportunity to go abroad, or someone I was working with recently said that he was offered a job in Turkey when his career was booming. Like, he was really high level, everything was going great, and then he was offered this position in Turkey, and he and his wife had a list like this of reasons they should not move to Turkey. It just didn't make sense. But at the end of the day, his gut said, yes, we should move because it'll be interesting, basically. Really, the only reason to go seemed to be that it's going to be more exciting, it's going to be interesting. And so logically, it didn't make sense. It wasn't safe, it wasn't comfortable. I mean, they already had their place where they were before. His career was great, you know, everything was great. But he still decided to move because that's what his gut was telling him. His gut was telling him, I don't want to have a boring life. I want to do something exciting, and I'm going to make this work. And so they did it, and of course, it was one of the best decisions that he ever made. So you need to go with your gut, not go with logic. Sometimes that list of pros and cons can lead you astray if it's not really following what your gut is telling you. And I used to not take my gut so seriously until I read a book called Blink by Malcolm Gladwell. Let me know if you know about this book, if you read it. And it's really amazing because it shows us how we make our brains are capable of a lot more than we realize, and our brains are capable of processing so much information in a blink, so in a split second, and that often when we think we need to take a lot of time to think about stuff and to come to the right decision, oftentimes the longer we take to make a decision and to bring more bits and pieces of information and examine everything, that is where we can be led astray. And the best decisions are made often in the moment. And our brains are so much more intelligent than we give credit for. And our brain can instantaneously process everything, figure out what we want, what we need, and give us that gut feeling of, yes, go for it, right? And it's only when we start ignoring our gut and thinking that we need more time, we need to have a whole examination of all the different facts, that we can be led to the wrong conclusion. And Malcolm Gladwell gives so many really interesting examples from a lot of different sectors of society about this. So from figuring out whether a sculpture, an ancient sculpture, is really ancient, or if it's a copy, where the experts who looked at it and just knew in a moment that it was a fake, that it was off. And then they did all these tests to really see if it was a fake, and the tests showed it was real, but actually it was a fake. And so the people who just looked at it and knew in a second, they could tell whether it was real or not compared to these scientific tests, which is amazing, because normally we don't trust our own gut as much as we trust science and logic and all this kind of stuff. But really, it's not that one or the other is correct, it's that both work together. And often our gut feeling is more intelligent than what we might give it credit for. So we might think, oh, it's just feelings, they don't count, it's not real facts. But those feelings will come out of real facts. So those feelings, it'll give you that split like excitement about doing something, because your gut sends you that feeling, because your brain, which is connected to your gut, knows that that's the right decision for you, and that's what you really want, and that's what's really going to make you happy, if that makes sense. So yeah, I've been thinking about this lately, actually for a while now, a couple of years, because I have realized that before I made decisions really slowly. So I was one of these people who would always think about things, and these little decisions, I would have so much trouble with them, especially because now we're living in a society where we have a lot of choice, and we're really blessed to have choice. You can go to the grocery store and you have 10 different types of the same product to choose from, whereas before you just, you take what's there. We have choice in terms of career, right? So women used to basically stay home and have very few job prospects. Now they can pretty much do any job they want. Same for men. Men can now do a lot of other jobs that before weren't as socially acceptable. If you want to be a stay-at-home dad, that's becoming more and more normalized, for example. What else? I mean, we just have so many choices these days, and we have, plane tickets are becoming affordable. We can travel wherever we want. We have so much freedom, and it's amazing, but that also means a lot of decisions all the time, and a lot of us are petrified of making decisions. So we avoid decisions as much as possible. We do things like I mentioned before, just asking everyone we know what they think to, hope that's going to lead us, when really it's a decision we should be making from ourselves, from our own brain, our own heart. Like, we have so much inner wisdom and we know what's best for us, yet we feel this need to ask everyone else what they think, which is only going to lead us astray. Or another thing that we do to kind of self-sabotage ourselves is we avoid making the decision by saying, okay, I'll go think about this later, and then we get back to our everyday life and our busyness, and we just put off the decision, sometimes forever. So that's where people are, thinking about a career change, and every once in a while they'll remember they wanted to make that change, or it might be an underlying thought that they have, but on a day-to-day basis, they never actually properly take that decision. And so they get distracted with everything else, all the other decisions they have to make, and they never take those important decisions. And what I've noticed is that all of the most successful people I know, they are the ones that take a lot of decisions, and they take the decisions fast. And most people are the complete opposite of this. And it's really fascinating to see the difference. And it's really uncomfortable to start making lots of decisions and to make them fast at first, because most of us are not brought up to actually function that way. But it's very, very interesting when you think about the people who have a lot of power. So that can be power over their own lives, just in terms of the kind of stuff that they want to be able to do, right? So the difference between feeling stuck and feeling powerful and in control of just your own life and maybe a few people around you, a lot of that comes down to the kind of decisions that you make. And then at a higher level, once you start making even more bigger decisions, faster decisions, that's where you start finding the people who are in control of a lot of money, so they make huge financial decisions, and also who make decisions that affect a lot of people. So the bigger decisions you can start making, and with the more conviction and the more speed you can make them, the further ahead you can actually go. And I think what stops a lot of people from, you're probably thinking now, okay, that's fine, I'd like to have more power on my own life and in terms of the kind of impact I want to make, and I'd like to have more money, but what if I make the wrong decision? Then I'm going to be worse off. And that, my friends, is the biggest myth, that if we make the wrong decision, that is going to be worse than making the wrong decision is worse than not making any decision. And this is the really big myth. Oh, hi, Travis. So I'm just saying that the big myth is that the wrong decision is worse than no decision. And that is not true. Any decision is better than no decision, because that will keep you moving forward. So whatever you decide, you're going to be moving forward. And what I think successful people find is that when they look back at all the decisions they've made, no matter how big, how small, whether they lost millions or not, every single decision kept them moving forward. And you'll see lots of successful people who will say, they made some decision, it cost them a few million, and then they got back a few million or, 10 times that amount later. And so the really interesting thing is that any normal person, if they lost a few million, that would be like game over, failure. And successful people just don't think like that. Like, every decision is a step forward. There's no such thing as fail, not fail. Everything is moving forward. It's action, it's momentum, and it's taking back that power to make a decision and to make stuff happen. So I now have to jump onto a call. So I can't go on anymore right now, but let me know in the comments what your relationship is with decision making. If this is even something you've thought about, how you make decisions. I know for the longest time I just made my decisions and didn't think about how I was making them, until one day I realized, wow, really takes me a long time to decide anything, So let me know if it's something that you think about, if it's something that you want to improve on, and what your relationship is with decision making. What was the last really big decision that you had to make? And so I'm doing tons of studying on this. There's a lot more I would like to share. Maybe we'll save it for next time, because I have to do a client call now. But it's been lovely speaking to you all, and I'm looking forward to your feedback, what you have to say about decision making. So have a wonderful start to the week, and talk to you soon. Bye.